Decade Project 1940s by Luke McDonald, Inam Ramzan, Kalen Brown, and Nick Smith. Top 10 American History Events in the 1940s by Luke McDonald. November 5th, 1940. On November 5th, 1940, Franklin D. Roosevelt was re-elected for a third term. His running for a third term was a major issue in the public. This was the first and only time a president has ever been elected for a third term. December 7th, 1941. On December 7th, 1941, a surprise military attack by the Imperial Japanese Naval Air Service against the U.S. naval base of Pearl Harbor on Hawaiian territory. This event led to the U.S. entry in World War II. February 19th, 1942. On February 19th, 1942, Executive Order 9066 is signed by President Roosevelt. This put 110,000 Japanese Americans on the West Coast in camps. June 21st, 1943. On June 21st, 1943, race riots occurred in Detroit and Harlem. These riots were the cause of 40 deaths and many hundred injuries. December 18th, 1944. On December 18th, 1944, in the Supreme Court case of Korematsu versus the United States, the court sides with the government, saying that the putting of Japanese Americans in camps was constitutional. This said it was constitutional even if you were a citizen because of the wartime events. April 12, 1945. On April 12, 1945, President Roosevelt suddenly dies. The Vice President Truman takes over as President and Commander-in-Chief of World War II. July 4th, 1946. On July 4th, 1946, the Philippines is given its independence from the United States. This would be the end of 425 years of control by the West. April 15th, 1947. April 15th, 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the MLB color barrier. He did this when he debuted at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers. July 26, 1948. On July 26, 1948, President Truman signed Executive Order 9981. This order ended segregation in the United States military. October 14th, 1949. On October 14th, 11 United States Communist Party leaders were convicted for overthrow of the U.S. and advocating a violent insurrection. The Supreme Court would later agree with the convictions.
Outside of U.S. Event Timeline by Nick. Auschwitz, May 1940. Jews were killed in the thousands in gas chambers. Jews' bodies were burnt in a crematoria for maximum efficiency. There was little to no food or water provided to any of the people in the camp. Those who weren't killed immediately were forced to do hard labor until they died of exhaustion or cold. Around 4 million Jews were killed, which made up 2/3 of all of Europe's Jewish population. D-Day, June 6, 1944. The Allies invaded the beaches of Normandy in a bloody battle that killed over 200,000 Allied troops. Metal traps prevented the landing ships from getting on the beach. Concrete gunner boxes resulted in many people dying from the start. U.S. drops bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 6, 1945. President Harry S. Truman gave the order to drop a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima in the hopes of that the Japanese would surrender. However, the Japanese didn't surrender, so another nuclear bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. With the U.S. insisting we had more bombs, the Japanese surrendered to stop the bombings, but little did they know we were out of nukes. United Nations founded, October 24th, 1945. The United Nations was formed after World War II. to prevent the breakout of another world war. There are currently 193 involved in the UN committee. Operation Barbarossa, June 22nd, 1941. Germans invaded the Soviet Union but failed to completely take it over. War was sparked between the Germans and Soviet Union. Germany used a blitzkrieg attack on a large scale with over 4,000 planes to try and quickly take over Russia before they were ready. However, Hitler underestimated the Soviet Union's power. Germany's loss showed weakness and began the downward spiral of the German war effort in World War II. Gandhi assassinated, January 30th, 1948. Godse, a member of the Hindu Nationalist Political Party, fired 3 shots and killed Gandhi for giving too much to the Muslims by letting them have Pakistan. The assassination happened behind the Birla House in New Delhi. UNICEF, December 11th, 1946. UNICEF is the United Nations Children's Fund created to try and help children in the developing world. 190 countries are involved in UNICEF currently. First non-stop flight around the world, March 2nd, 1949. After 94 hours of a Boeing B-50 landed at Carswell Air Force Base, Texas, completing the first non-stop trip around the world. This marked a major milestone in the flight world. NATO, April 4th, 1949. NATO is an alliance between North America and Europe to protect each other from communist Soviet Union. There are currently 28 members in NATO. China becomes communist, October 1st, 1949. After the Chinese Revolution of 1949, which entailed a civil war between the communist and nationalist armies of China, Mao Zedong declared the creation of the People's Republic of China, making China a communist state.
10 examples of entertainment in the 1940s. 1940s music. Pop music was popular at this time with many influential artists like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby. Along with the blues, pure jazz became very popular. Country music became wildly popular as the people introduced honky tonk, which is a cross between Western swing and also blues. Slinky. This toy was invented by a naval engineer named Richard T. James in 1943. It was sold out in the first 90 minutes it was on the market. It was used for entertainment and also science experiments. Basketball. Many sports were not affected by the war, including basketball, because the tall players could not enter the military. The BAA was established in 1946, and the NBL was established in 1949. Not only men, but also women played basketball. Theater. Frederick O'Neill and Abraham Hill founded the American Negro Theater, the ANT, which is the first major mention of African Americans in American theater. Because of the World Wars, drama became a popular genre. Casablanca, 1942. Casablanca is a movie about how a American encounters a former lover with unforeseen complications. It was released during the Casablanca Conference, and it was centered around personal commitment, which was a message to America to wake up. It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. This movie is about an angel who shows a suicidal man why the world is a great place to be alive. And this movie is known as one of the most American movies made, As Forrest Gump shows us the second half of the 20th century, It's a Wonderful Life shows us the first half. It shows how America isn't always stable and that America has its ups and downs. Lux Radio Theater. Lux Radio Theater is a radio broadcast that was very popular in the 1940s. They had an hour-long session featuring live performances on stage in front of a live audience. This was very popular because it provided a happy and fun break from the heartbreaking and morbid war. The Swing Jugend, also known as the Swing Youth. This was a group of teenage boys who had loved jazz and swing music of US and UK and also loved the lifestyles of Great Britain and the USA. They had protested the Hitler Youth with the moniker Homo Youth and also the Leagues of Mattresses. Their activism amused and also entertained many Americans and Brits and also riled up adolescents in Germany. Leisure time. Every Friday and Saturday, teens went out for leisure activities. This included watching movies, going to sporting events, watching TV, listening to the radio, and going to dance parties. Everyone had lots of free time. Popular movies. Pinocchio, 1940s. Dumbo, 1941, and Bambi, 1942. These movies heavily influenced us and are great classics.
1940s Fashion by Caitlin Brown. Zoot suit. The single piece of fashion that influenced men's post-war clothing. They were longer, looser jackets, double-pleated pants, big hats, and wider ties. They wore these suits to put the war behind them and embrace the clothing they couldn't wear before. They were popular at the start of the 30s, but became strongly associated with gangsters by the 40s. Often pinstriped in colorful yellows, greens, bright blues, and purples. Cotton canvas coveralls. These were worn by men that had to get dirty on the job. They were all one piece that buttoned down through the fly with a straight leg. They belted at the waist, had long sleeves for protection, and a pointed collar. They also had a big patch pockets on the chest for keeping things handy. Trench coat. Early versions of the trench coat were made with a heavy-duty khaki drill. The cotton fabric is more durable and water-resistant. They can also come in leather fabric. Hats. Fedora, Homburg, and pork pie hat. The fedora, also called the trilby, was by far the most widely worn style. The Homburg was a felt style that only came in gray or blue, with black slowly fading out of fashion by the mid-40s. The pork pie hat is similar to a Victorian gambler hat. It came in black or brown fur, and it featured a flat oval-shaped top with deep crease around the oval. Women's neckline. Women were not allowed to show any sort of cleavage whatsoever. All dress top designs revealed very little skin. Evening dresses were the only exception. Women's dresses. They wore evening dresses, which had spaghetti strapped or halter topped that revealed shoulders and chests, but only mild cleavage. Skirts were long and full in the early 40s, and more sleek by the end of the decade. They embraced colorful patterns with contrasting trims. Women's suits. The shortage of fabric led to the idea of women's suits. Known as a victory or utility suit, women could mix and match skirts, blouses, and jackets for a new outfit every day. Women's shoes. Elaborated version of 30s shoes. Known to be plain, sturdy, and chunky. Heels were short and thick in the early 40s, but gradually became thinner later on. The later version of these shoes were called pumps. The wedge and the peep toe came out around this time as well. 1940s fabrics. Rayon could be made to look and feel like almost any expensive fabric on the market, which increased in popularity for home sewers. Silk was a rare and expensive fabric that was needed to make parachutes and other military supplies. Net was used in most bridal gowns, bridal party dresses, and prom dresses during the time period and was very popular. Children's fashion. It can still be found in some antique stores today. They came in the colors red, blue, yellow, white, and green. Dresses were above the knee for toddlers and below for older girls. Boys wore casual striped knit shirts with shorts or pants.